Hey guys, did you hear the news? The ATF has redefined their opinion of the use of a pistol arm brace. We're going to talk about that today on Max Headspace 9mm. Okay, some of you might actually be wondering, what is a pistol arm brace? Well, it's kind of a weird thing actually. The ATF made this rule that if you wanted an SBR, which is a rifle with a shorter barrel than 16 inches, you had to get a special permission slip from the ATF, which is called a tax stamp. You have to pay $200 for this permission and wait however many months, anywhere from 6 months to a year, to get that piece of paper. Then, whenever you take that firearm to a range or anywhere else, the paper has to accompany it. If it's not with the firearm at the time that the police or a range officer questions you as to its legality, you could get into a lot of trouble. There's also some challenges with crossing state lines with an SBR. So a lot of people don't really want to pay the ATF for permission to do what they feel is their constitutional right anyway. So they buy a pistol arm brace, which was designed for people with disabilities to be able to shoot a large rifle with a shorter barrel than 16 inches, but no buttstock. And by doing this, they can shoot this thing, which is very heavy and bulky and difficult to aim. So it started out as an aid to people who had disabilities. But the problem is, it looks an awful lot like a buttstock, and a lot of people got the idea when they looked at it, hey, I don't want to pay $200 for a tax stamp, and I want to use this thing as if it was a buttstock. And they bought it, and they used it as a buttstock. Well, after a while, the ATF came out with a ruling that you cannot shoulder these devices. If they touch your shoulder, you're in big trouble. But they clarified that you can actually use a buffer tube as a cheek weld. So let me show you an example of that. This is an AR pistol. You notice that this has a very short barrel. It's a 10.5-inch barrel. It has a buffer tube with a buffer inside of it. It has a foam pad on here so that I can get a cheek weld for aiming purposes. It steadies this gun. And because of the fact that this gun has very low recoil, I don't need to stick it into my shoulder to absorb the recoil. It is actually quite manageable just like this, and I can keep my head upright more and be more mobile with it. It's a great device. Well, they decided you could do the same thing legally with a pistol arm brace, except as long as it doesn't touch your shoulder. You can get it close to your shoulder, just don't touch your shoulder. This is one of many different arm braces out there for pistols. It is plastic. It looks exactly like a buttstock. It is not adjustable though. You can adjust it with a wrench, but it's not quickly adjustable like a AR-15 buttstock. Now, here's the thing. The news of the day. The ATF reclarified their opinion of these devices. They said that they are not designed for the purpose of being shouldered, that to shoulder it is to repurpose it. But they realize they can't really enforce this. So, as long as when you buy this and put it on, you have the intent of using it as an arm brace, if it happens to touch your shoulder when you're out shooting, they're not going to come and throw you in jail. Frankly, the penalty for doing this is a little steep. As much as a $100,000 fine and 10 years in federal prison for doing something that really doesn't do anything to make this more deadly or dangerous to the public, in my opinion. You know, the thing about this that's so exciting is I don't like living in fear. I live in America because I don't want to live in fear. And I'm a law-abiding citizen, and I want to obey the laws, especially, hopefully, reasonable laws. this gun right here, I could put under my coat and I could ride the subway all day long and no one would think a thing about it. Does having a buffer tube instead of a buttstock or an arm brace make this gun any less dangerous to the public? Does it change its function in any way? Well, the ATF seems to think that being able to shoulder this weapon makes it far more dangerous, so much so that they're willing to threaten with huge fines and prison time. Well, they decided to ease up a little bit under the current administration and release a letter that I recommend you go to their website and read, because it implies very clearly that they are not going to be as strict about the interpretation of the use of shouldering a buttstock. So, in a nutshell, as long as you buy the pistol arm brace for your huge AK or AR pistol, as long as you intend to use it as an arm brace at the time you buy it and put it on, because that's what it's designed to do, and as a helpful rule of thumb, the distance from the back of this to the face of your trigger should be less than 13 inches. On this, it's 12. So for an SBR, you actually want a short length of pull. This keeps this from being close to touching your shoulder when you are getting a cheek weld, and allows you the ability to use it for a cheek weld without having the likelihood of it touching your shoulder. But if it does, you don't have to live in fear anymore. Thank you, current administration, for your reasonable approach to firearms. This is Max Headspace 9mm. Have a good one.